Welcome back to Legacy Builders. We have some guests that might look a little bit familiar to some of you guys if you've started with us, but we've got Kylan and Rebecca back on, and we just had such an incredible episode with them last time, full of so much wisdom that we just were like, if you guys are willing, please be a part of it again. So thank you guys for coming on again. We appreciate you, and we're excited for this episode.
So yeah, again, thanks again. And we're looking forward to talking about relationships with you guys. Last episode, Madison was a little excited, wanted to talk more about relationships, but our time got cut short. So, for those that haven't seen Kylan and Rebecca before, they're authors of a great book called Build Your Best Life, and recommend you get that on Amazon. We'll have a link if you want to get that, but they're working on some other things. I'm not going to spoil that, but yeah, we're just excited for you guys to share your wisdom and your passion to help people. And one of the components in building legacy and building our best lives just happens to be people. There's relationships involved everywhere we turn, and you guys know that. And we just look forward to hearing your wisdom and your take on some of these topics. So.
Absolutely, thanks for having us. We're excited to be a part and sharing any information that we have that might help anyone or that may be listening or might see this podcast. So yeah.
Well, we're probably going to go over quite a bit of different relationships with you guys. We're probably going to go over friendships, parent relationships, marriages, all sorts of stuff. But let's start kind of where we left off with the marriage relationship last time. And I know both of you guys spoke into how important it was to observe the person before you get married. And I loved how you guys talked about actually sitting back and observing their actions and not just listening to their words. Will you guys start there and talk about the pre, and then maybe go into your guys' story about your marriage, how long you've been married, and the seasons that you've been through?
So I'm Rebecca. We have been married for 17 years. We just celebrated our 17th anniversary at the end of January. We have known each other and actually been courting since 2001. So we've been together for 21 years, basically. But so as far as the question about observing and not just hearing the words that they're saying, one thing that I will tell you becomes more obvious as you get older is this word perspective. And the older you get, you realize that you only see from one angle. And that is really the benefit of having good people in your life, that you aren't concerned or jealous for you. You aren't concerned, just don't want you to be happy. And so when we were courting, we hung out with about 7 to 10 other people all the time. And so we were always with those people, and I would ask those people, hey, what do you see? Do you see something I don't see? What do you hear? So I got to watch them interact with friends. I got to watch them interact with his sister. I got to watch him interact with my friends. I got to watch him interact with different people. And that helped bring a perspective that if we were only going on dates together and we're only looking into each other's eyes and we're only ever together, I would have never seen how he treated other people, how he interacted with other people. But then even more than that, I think sometimes when it comes to relationships, what I've noticed so many people that have really good friends like you, Madison. You have friends you hang out with. And the moment a guy comes around, all of your friends now become irrelevant. You don't need them anymore. Your best friend, she has no judgment. Your other best friend, she has no idea what she's talking about. And we watch people basically cut themselves off from every other relationship, and it's only the two of us. And the problem with this view is that I can't see anything other than the side I'm looking at. And that's the benefit of you keeping your friends with you, because your friends can walk over here. Your friends can go over there. They can move to different spots to basically say, this part I'm not sure about. So we've seen people basically throw away their friendship judgment of, oh, that friend was just jealous. So the question we always asked ourselves was, so do I have bad judgment in picking friends or bad judgment in picking a relationship with somebody romantically? Because you usually don't have both. You usually have one or the other. And so we recommend when you bring somebody into your relationship, don't throw those non-romantic relationships in your life out the window because they have not lived their life. They haven't served their purpose. You still need other people, even when you find someone romantically.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, I would say that along with including your friends, we actually had couples that were already married. Some married for 15 years, some were married for 20 years. You know, we involved them in our relationship. So they knew what we were doing, where we were going, just to keep us honest and to keep us accountable to have a proper viewpoint of the other person so that we were so that there was someone objective other than ourselves. Because you know, when love hits and when you're like, man, I really infatuated with this person, you can be overly infatuated but become blind to things or passive to things that you normally wouldn't tolerate.
Mhm.
So having, you know, other married couples around you, having your friends around you to point out stuff to say, hey, is that a red flag? You told me you didn't like that. Those things are really big and important. So for us, we did those things. And I think it kept us honest, kept us objective, and it also helped strengthen our relationship because we had other people that we could talk to other than each other about each other. So they could tell us, you know, that's not really what they meant. You got to look at it this way, or you're right in seeing that way. Go back and ask them this question or dig for more, that type of thing. So that when we got married, we had asked a lot of different questions. We had a lot of conversations up front. So there weren't things that were, oh, you know, in the closet, if you will, that you didn't know about until after I got married. And I'm not talking about stuff like, oh, well, yeah, I played soccer in third grade. I'm not talking about small things, meaningless things like that. I mean, important things that your spouse or future spouse would want to know.
That's so good.
Yeah.
What do you talked about you mentioned about being in love or this infatuation. Talk about that. What is this being in love? What's your take on this comment of we're in love?
I don't believe people fall in love. I believe people choose to love people. Falling in love means it's like oops, it's like you stub your toe. No, you drop a glass of water. That's accidental. But when you are in love with someone, you've made a subconscious, may not be conscious, but you made a subconscious decision that this person has qualities that you admire, like, or qualities that you might be lacking in your own personal life that you want a part of your life. And so it goes beyond just a physical attraction. It's an attraction of sometimes opposites. It's an attraction of their intelligence, the way their mind works, their personality, you know. So all those things kind of work together to create this, to basically allow love to happen. So when you see someone with those qualities, you're like, man, I really like this person. Before you know it, you realize that you've opened your heart in a different way that you normally wouldn't. Now, infatuation, that's just like, she's just gorgeous. Oh my God, she's so pretty. And that's all that's there. You're just physically attracted to that person. That's just infatuation. That's not love. That's more that's a small fragment of what love really is the physical aspect of it, right? So I think when people are looking for someone that they want to build their life with, whether it be romantically or whether it be, you know, a friendship, you know, there's qualities in those people that you're looking for. And I think people need to be more cognizant of what those qualities are, especially when you're building your life with someone that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, right? When you're getting ready to want to get married, you got to be cognizant of what it is you really want and desire so that you can communicate it to that person and they can make a decision upon their own, whether they want to help build that or agree with that or say, you know, actually, that's not what I really want. Because then you can say, well, let's just be friends and maybe this is not going to work, you know, versus we get married and then we get together and man, this really didn't work. And we didn't have those conversations. We didn't give ourselves a chance to understand our dreams, our desires, to see if this infatuation can become more than just that. And it's actually something we can build a legacy on.
I think sometimes people use the word love as an excuse. Like, you know, there's I think there's in First Corinthians, I think it says, you know, love covers a multitude of sins. Not in your pre-romantic, pre-marriage relationship, it doesn't. Don't let it cover that stuff. I think what people forget is they'll do things like they will lower the level, like, oh, we're just dating, it's new. No, let me tell you this. People are on their best behavior before they put a ring on your finger.
Right.
They are trying to impress you. And if this is their version of trying to impress you and it's not impressing you, I would be concerned of what they're not trying to impress you version looks like. So
Wow.
when you see them doing things that are like blatantly, I wouldn't want to be married to this, and you're dating, it's not going away. Like, it's amplified once you are married. And so that's, I think, the thing that we see people do is I don't want to say tolerate, but they put up with things that if any other person in your life tried to do this to you, you would tell them, that's not how you talk to me. That's not how you treat me. And it's just so important not to be overly concerned, but this person right here can build me up and tear me down faster than anybody else in the world. This person could hurt me while I'm sleeping because he's next to me at night. And I think that's the thing, that we have to sometimes have those people in our life that aren't blinded by love. They don't think he's gorgeous. They don't think he hung the moon. They don't think he's the best thing that happened since sliced bread. I need people who aren't in love with him to be around me to say, Rebecca, look at this. Look at this from this angle. Look how he's approaching this part of his life. Because sometimes when it comes to love, we turn everything into a Disney movie, and everything is a rom-com from Hollywood, and those aren't real, and that's not real life. And real life is getting woken up at 3:00 in the morning by your children randomly because somebody had a bloody nose, or I fell out of bed, or whatever the reason was.
Sleepwalking.
And it's happened this week. And I'm tired, and I might not be happy with you at the moment because I'm annoyed that I'm tired. And it's all these other things that have nothing to do with love the way that they show it. So you've got to find someone that, even when everything doesn't feel like it's always firing on all cylinders, we've decided we're going to stick together. We've decided that we are stronger and better together than we are apart.
I'm curious so what do you think? Why do you think people choose to lower their standards? And do you think you see this more in men or women who choose to lower that or cover that and say, there's grace for that, cover that sin type of thing? So I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on that.
I don't want to speculate who it is. I know women in my life that have done that, but I also know men in my life that have made excuses for manipulative women to stay in their life, and women who've made excuses for men who didn't really care. I think there's a lot of reasons. I think a lot of them come from how you see yourself. Because I can remember being younger thinking nobody else is going to come along. There are 8 billion people, but nobody else is going to come along and talk to me. And it's like the logic isn't there. But I think a lot of it strives from this idea that I found one and another one might not come along. And if I don't take this one right here, I might miss my only chance of happiness. And so I think a lot of that stems from, first of all, you have to love yourself enough to realize that sometimes you are better off being alone than with somebody who can't and won't help you be better.
Yeah.
I'd say compromises happen when you are not confident in yourself. I think we make compromises because there's a area in our own lives that we might find defective. So to accommodate for that defectiveness, we will compromise on someone else's defectiveness and that might be a non-negotiable thing for us, but we'll overlook it, or it might be a red flag for us, but we will overlook it because I have a deficiency too, and I don't want you to point that out. So I think it's a lack of understanding who you are as an individual and being confident enough to own and say, this is who I am. I'm not perfect. I have some flaws. We all do.
Yeah.
But this concerns me, and let the chips fall where they may. You just have to be completely honest in those situations. I think people do that because they just there's a lack of confidence in their own selves. Because, you think about it, nobody wants to be alone, right? Nobody wants to be alone. They're not going to choose that. But we believe that you're better off choosing to be alone than to be a part of some of the conversations that I've been in, in the past, where people are like, we're quitting, we're calling it quits. And that's, for me, it's tough to hear. So I'm wondering, does this stimulate? Sometimes you look back and you talk to them, you find out that it stems from things that happened way before they got married. And then they recognized it. They'll say, I recognize this when we were dating, but I just didn't say anything. And you're like,
Didn't think it was going to.
I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. You hear that a lot. Ask the question.
But Eric, don't you build houses?
Yes.
Okay, so how many deficient products do you like to use as your foundation?
Oh.
None.
Your framing.
Can't.
Well, this piece of wood is kind of warped, but we could still use it as our centerpiece.
Right. That would not be good. I would lose a lot of money in warranty work, and might have to rebuild the whole house if that fails. So yeah,
Right.
foundation is key. So you guys both mentioned this. I wanted to compliment you too on, as we've known each other for a while, and in my observations, and we both learned this concept from our mutual mentor. This idea that a half a person marrying a half a person is not a good idea. And I've watched you guys become whole people. So when you bring a whole person together with a whole person, that's way better. And that's what you guys kind of both in essence said, is that you got to have confidence in you. We're not talking about being perfect people. We're not talking about because they have it all together before you get married. That's not what we're talking about. But to be whole and not this idea of, I'm going to marry this person because they're going to complete me. That's already a recipe, Rebecca. You just said it, that warped beam that we're going to build a foundation on. So we share a little bit more on that.
I think, to your point, a lot of people think that when they say complete, they think that means I need to have no issues. I should be in my perfect weight, my perfect mental health. I should own a house, own my car, my student loans are paid off, got the perfect job, like everything in my life is perfect. Well, I would like to see that happen, first of all, because I would like to take notes from that person. But I think what it is you have got to, number one, figure out who you are and what you're good at. And a complete person is, okay, for example, our youngest son, Benjamin, is already a runner. Like, he just is a runner. But right now, when it comes to running, his challenge is he keeps looking at the person next to him when he runs. So he is very much faster than everybody else. He still beats them, but only slightly, because he's too busy looking at the other person. A complete person on their race is not looking at the people next to them. They're just focused on what it is they're supposed to do. And then what happens is, at some point they look up and see someone next to them, like, hey, we seem to be going in the same direction.
That's good.
Where are you going? I'm going over there. Well, I'm going over there. Well, hey, you want to go together? Like, we can. And that's what it's supposed to be, is that Kylan can't fill my heart.
Come on.
I can't fill my heart. Sometimes I'm figuring out what my heart wants. Like, I didn't even know I wanted that. I'm 40, and every year I learn something new about myself. And so that's something that only God can fill. Only God can plug the holes or the deficiencies and help me work through the things that happened in my childhood and in my adulthood. But Kylan is like a compliment to me. He's not a completer. He's a compliment. I don't make him whole. I make him better.
Yeah.
But I can't make him better if he isn't already doing something.
Right.
Yeah.
Love it.
What would you say?
You pretty much said it all. I mean, I agree. What else is there for me to really say? I mean, I will overemphasize the importance of, I'll say it a different way, self-awareness. So that's really what she's talking about, is self-awareness, being aware of what strengths, what skills you have, what aren't you good at, what makes you uncomfortable, what is your communication style, what is your love language, how do you like to be loved, are you a touchy person, are you a words of affirmation person? Are you a gifts person? Understanding those things about yourself, I think, really help you communicate to the person what it is you really want out of the relationship. And then they can in turn review and determine, oh, I can give you that, or no, I'm not that way, or at least they can understand you. Because a lot of relationships, I think, end up falling apart because people don't know that about themselves. So like, we're two whole people, but we're constantly working on ourselves to improve, to become better, to be more loving, to be more affectionate, to be more, attentive, all those different things, because we understand that this is the most important earthly relationship that we're going to have is with one another. So we need to make sure that whoever we choose to build our lives with, that person has the same type of mindset and concept, because then you're less likely to want to bring up the D word into your relationship, your marriage, right? But before marriage, if you're talking about pre-marriage, you need to have that type of mindset to where you're self-improving, wanting to improve, and that person in turn should have something similar as well. Maybe they're not as ambitious as you, but they still have a desire to grow and can learn, and is willing to learn from you.
Yeah, this is so good. Well, I definitely so I don't want to make it all about marriage, because I know you guys have so much wisdom on like all types of relationships, but I do want to go back to, you guys talked about these friendships and having these friends who can look out for you and have different perspectives than you. How do you build these friendships? So like, something I'm learning is it takes a lot of time, like, to build these friendships. And for people my age, when you go out of school and you don't know anybody, like, how do you start and how do you build these friendships?
I'll tell you what we did, right? Because Rebecca will tell you she's more of a introvert. She's become more of an extrovert being married to me. I'm the person who's like, let's go party, let's go, right? That's me. I would say, whether you're introvert or extrovert, I would say is, if you're an introvert, you need to find a way to just allow to at least invite one person over to your house. Invite a person over to, hey, let's go to lunch. What are you doing? To take the initiative to do that, because not everybody will invite you. Or when people invite you, go. If you're an introvert, just go. I mean, but I built those relationships intentionally because I just wanted to be around people that were trying to build something. And I know that there's power in numbers versus there's more power in 5 of us than it's just me by myself, right? And I learned as a young man that perspective is really influenced by the number of people or eyes that are on a situation. So if I have more people involved in a situation, I have a deeper or better perspective than most, because I'm asking them, what do you think about that? How do you think about it? Why don't you like this person? What's wrong with them? Well, I don't see it this way. And we start asking those questions. So I intentionally went out of my way to invite people. Let's go to lunch. Let's go to a movie. Let's do stuff, to try to build relationships with people that I felt a connection with. So first, find people that you can build a connection with. Someone that's a spark or something. It's like, oh, we have this in common. Let's go have coffee. If you both like coffee, or those, whatever it may be. And then consistently doing it. So relationship building, no different than marriage, but just relationship building is a lot about the person taking initiative to ask questions, to just say, want to come to lunch with me? Want to go to dinner with me? Want to go to the movies? You just have to do those things. It's important, because if you don't, why would you do that in a marriage? Why would you do that in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship? Why would you do that with your friends? Sometimes you will, but not all the times you do. So I'm pushing everything towards communication, because I think that's the biggest part of it. For me, I'm an over communicator. I'll talk to anybody, anywhere. So for someone like Rebecca, I saw her and I'm like, come to lunch with us. And she was like, okay. I'm like, just come. Everybody's going. And in that group is how we found our relationship. So building those relationships with people that have input in your life, start with a small yeses to movies, yes to dinner, you inviting them to coffee, those types of things. And you just build relationship. You ask questions. And one last thing to help build relationships with people, especially introverts.
I love how you're telling me how to build.
I am.
Rebecca, step 1, step 2.
I am. You want to make sure that you
Tell me how I think.
no, I'm not telling you how you think, I'm telling you how to get people involved in your life. You want to you need now I lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I was gonna say. She caught. You respond. You tell me what you think. If it comes back about
So I will say this is something I learned because
who'd you learn from?
again, life has taught me that Hollywood and books. No, let's not really learn from life. I didn't learn
okay.
from you.
Okay. Oh, see?
Hollywood and books make you give this idea that you're going to have friends that you start as friends in kindergarten and they're all going to be with you for the rest of your life. And I gotta be honest, that is not my experience. I think sometimes when it comes to friends, some of them are seasonal. And the bad part about it is none of them have the expiration dates written across their forehead. So you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know how long they are. So here's one thing I've learned. I have learned to stop chasing people that want nothing to do with me. That I'm the one that wants to be in a relationship with them and they are just like hands off. So that was a hard lesson because there were some people I wanted to be their friend. And it was just like it was like the girl version of I gotta go wash my hair. I gotta go walk the dog. I mean, there was always an excuse for why we couldn't be friends together.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned, and I have some great female friends, and I prayed for them. Number one, I did ask God for these friends. I said, I need some good friends. And so to his point, one girl, one of my friends, I saw her across the room at church one day. And something inside me just said, that is your friend. And I walked up to her and said, I don't know you, but my name is Rebecca. How are you? How long have you been coming here? And to this day, we're friends, but it's because something inside of me saw something inside of her and was like, I'm called to you. My other friend, I got the chance to actually hire her at the job that she works at. And as I was writing my notes down for employment, I was like, we want to hire her and I want to be her friend. So it's like sometimes you just know, but to Kylan's point, I will tell you, I do intentionally work. So, we have these devices on us at all times. I will start off many mornings with, good morning, how are you? Hope you have a great day. It does not take a long time to stay in connection with your friends. And sometimes that one little text can start an entire day's worth of conversations. So to your point, Madison, your generation lives on the phone. That is a great way to stay in touch with your friends. You can text everybody. And if you can't text them, you can WhatsApp them. So making sure that you're intentionally, like he said, communicating, because that's not my favorite. I'm not an extrovert. My dad would walk up to random people in the grocery store and start conversations. That is not my gift in life. But I have learned to go after the friendships, people who genuinely want to be with me, and then doing small things every week, whether it's texting them every other day, just thinking about you, how are you doing, just to stay in touch.
That's what I was going to say. She reminded me. People like to talk about themselves. Everybody does. Even the introvert likes to talk about themselves. If you get them warmed up, they're like, oh yeah, talk about. So when you're building relationships, find out as much as you can about the person.
Yeah.
And then let them ask you questions. So like Rebecca said, it doesn't take a lot of time. Pick your phone up and just send a quick text message and say, how are you doing? I might sometimes I've had some people had lost parents and lost friends over the last 2 years. And one thing I've always told people, especially in building these relationships, is if the person crosses your mind, take 20 seconds, send a text saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. You okay? Do you need anything? Or say, just checking on you. How you doing? That goes a long way and can help sustain and build relationships that can help speak into deeper relationships you may want and need in the future.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That is really good. So how do you take the surface level, like relationships and like building these connections and create even deeper friendships where you guys are building together, or just like because every friendship is definitely not the same. Like there's definitely different levels of friendship. So will you speak on that as well?
Like Rebecca, you just talked about, you just met two people. Obviously you didn't instantly become deep friends. So
Yeah.
what from the time you introduced yourself to the time that you guys are, good friends now, what's that process of building that look like?
So it started off with, hey, do you want to come to dinner with us one day? And just get a chance to meet, ask some questions about them,
Let 'em
who they
talk.
were, let them talk. I think the next week happened to be, I think it might have been Mother's Day that next week, or Easter, or it was a holiday, and she was new to town. And so I said, do you have anywhere to go? You can come to our house. So opening up your life. I mean, I know sometimes people get very controlled about, holidays are for families. Yeah, but what about people who don't have a family that's located close? They need somewhere to go. So I mean, it started with little things, and then it would turn into, this happened one day. So it was like little conversations, or they would join a small group that we'd be part of, and we talk a little bit more, and then it'd be like, hey, we're gonna have some people over. Did you want to come over? And so it was basically like, you don't just let everybody in to your bedroom, to have deep personal conversations with. Sometimes people are just your friends on the outside. Let's go out to dinner outside of my house. Let's see how you act with a stranger of a waiter. Let's see how you treat the waitress. Let's see how you interact with other people. And then you ask them questions and you pay attention to what they're saying. And if the things that they're saying connect with you, you're like, okay, I'm not seeing any. Even friends have red flags. Like, every relationship has flags that tell you whether or not this could be a compatible relationship, or whether you're just going to constantly be butting heads. There are some people that it's like, you guys are polar opposites of a battery and all you do is repel each other. And then there's some people that are the opposite, where you just want to be around them more. So it's like, I'm going to go to the movies. Did you want to come with me? I'm going to get my nails done. Did you want to come with me? And it started with these little things, and then it turned into, ironically, Kylan threw me the best party. Every person should have a great spouse that throws them a 40th birthday party. The best thing he did for my birthday, I got a girls' night. So I had like 15 of my closest girlfriends all over my house. I laughed so hard that night. My face was hurting in the morning. Like, all the girls were like, can we be friends with all of your friends too? Because we had so much fun. And then because it was in the middle of COVID, we all felt like we haven't been able to do this for so long. So it really started off with a lot of little things, paying attention to the flags, paying attention to how we got along, what was happening, and then it turned into more.
But didn't you so you invited them to those other things,
Mhm.
right? And I'll just add on to what she just said. There are people that want to be in your life, and there are people that you're chasing to be in your life.
Mm.
Don't chase people that don't want your time, that flake out on you, that those people, because if you eventually get them in your life, they're going to be the wrong kind of friends. They're not going to tell you the stuff you need to know.
And you're going to have to work to keep them.
If you have a booger in your nose, they're not going to tell you. And you're going to walk into a meeting with a booger in your nose. It's just seriously, you don't want that. You want people that are going to tell you your flaws and be like, hey, you kind of hard on her. You chill out, that kind of thing. That's so important in building these relationships. So, like she said, opening your life up to them. But I'm telling you, it really comes down to just every once in a while reaching out to them. Remember their birthday. If they're important to you, it doesn't even have to be a gift. Just shoot a quick note. Hey, happy birthday. I hope it's a great day. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. That doesn't really take much time. It's a little bit of time, but it has high impact and high value in building your relationships and having the right people around you.
Yeah. That's so good. So good. Thank you guys for that. I guess next let's talk about just kind of parent-kid relationships, just moving on from friendships. And so I will let you guys talk and give advice where you both are parents now. And so if you want to talk about what that relationship looks like building with your kid, if you want to start there.
Yeah, so we have two boys. They're 9 and 7 now. Isaiah is 9. He's 4'11". He's tall. Ben is 7 and he's, I don't know, 6. He's tall too. But they're completely different. They're completely different. And I'm sure, Eric, you can talk about your kids, how they're all different personalities. And I've seen them all. They're all completely different personalities. It's amazing how many different personalities can come out of one relationship. Right. And I mean, they're all totally opposite in different stratospheres. You're like, wow. But in building the relationships with my boys, I do it with my children as a father. I think it's my job not to be their friend, right? When they get older, maybe, but as a father, my job is to teach them to be responsible young men. Let them be boys, let them bump their head, stub their toe, things like that. But my relationship with them is more of, hey, this is what I need you to do, and here's why I need you to do it.
That's good.
Most of our conversations happen that way. Is I'm like, this is what I want you to do, and you're going to do it, but here's why I need you to do this. And I go into the conversation of, you're doing this to help yourself so that you become more responsible. And when you're an adult, you're not dealing with this, but also it teaches you this aspect of your life. And I show them that, I tell them that. So they know when dad's giving instructions, they just do it. So they already know if dad says it, I probably should do it because dad said I needed to do it. And I don't want to deal with dad. But it's a fun, but I also am not I'm not the hard one. I'm like, let's play. Let's go run around the block. Let's play basketball. Like my oldest is like, he's ready to try out for a competitive, select team. And I'm like, okay, so you've been playing for a while, but now you want to step up to a new level. Every day we need to go run. Every day you need to shoot 50 shots. And I'm like his coach, his friend. I'm his encourager. I'm his biggest fan. Like, go, you can do this. You got this. So there's a lot of different hats I think as a father I wear. But I think the most important relationship responsibility I have in a relationship as a father is to teach my kid how to have a relationship with God for themselves. Because that's the foundation of our family and everything we do is that there's a relationship with God. So I'm teaching him, like, they both have their own Bible. They both pray on their own because we've taught them, hey, talk to God like you talk to a friend. We've been very practical about it. So those are just kind of a few of the hats and the experiences that I had as I've had as a father. What would you say?
I would say that I think it's very important that children get 2 whole parents. It is not my job to look what Kylan is doing and then be the polar opposite of that, because I'm concerned feelings. I know sometimes a lot of people will talk about how they have one hard parent and then one parent that lets them get away with murder. And I think that's doing our children a very big disservice, because at some point they're going to end up resenting one or both of us. It's going to get on their nerves, because the Bible says, whom the Lord loves, he corrects. So I am that mom that, and I'm not joking, I do tell my kids this. I said, Jesus said, if you love me, you'll do what I tell you. So I tell my kids, do you love me? Yes. And I need you to do what I'm telling you. And Kylan would laugh the first time I did it, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm teaching our children the truth. You can't say you love someone, then you do the opposite of what that person that you love, who's looking out for your best interest, has told you to do. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to teach them the real thing. So little things like, I read parenting books. Boys are different. I always tell everybody I was raised with girls. I mean, I have a brother, but I was 13 when he was born. So essentially, I mean, it was like most of my childhood had happened when he came along. So I was raised with girls. When girls fight, we are mad. Someone is going to get hurt when a girl fights. And there's going to be tears, and there's probably going to be danger. But when boys fight, they're having fun. And so I remember the first time, Kylan was like, just let them play. Like that's play. I'm like, that's not how girls play. Well, they're not girls, they're boys. This is how boys play. So number one, I had to listen to my husband to not turn my children into little girls, because it would have been easy for me to try to treat them like how I would have treated a girl. I can't treat a boy the way I would treat a girl. I have to let them discover who they are. And so that was important, because otherwise he's like, what are you doing? You're babying. Stop it. Like, you're doing him a disservice Like, you can't bumper pad the world for him. You can't go around behind him and put bubble wrap around everything. At some point, he's going to have to bump his head, and he's going to discover why we told him not to do that. And so that was one thing. The second thing would be, I think somebody's put this on Facebook. I think it was a Denzel Washington quote, and they said, "Men, be careful who you marry, because her mindset will raise your children."
Mm.
My mindset is what raises our kids. So I'm talking to my little 7-year-old, talking about, Benjamin, life is a boomerang. Whatever you throw out there is going to come back around and hit you. The question is, do you want it to be good stuff, or do you want it to be bad stuff? So we have those practical conversations about, what are you putting out there? We have a family mantra that we taught our kids. It's little, but it's like, we are Crawfords. We are kind, loving, respectful. We always tell the truth. Those words might have been chosen because we weren't exhibiting kind, loving, respectful, or always telling the truth. But we couldn't say what we didn't want. We had to say what we wanted. So we would have them say that before they got out of the car every morning for school. And so we had to essentially, basically mirror in front of our children, this is how we act, and this is how we expect you to act. And so I think that's just really important, is that no parent gets a checkout sign like, "Oh, dad's here." It's one thing if I'm not feeling well and he's like, "Just go lay down, I'll take care of the kids." But we can't. It took both of us to make them. It's going to take both of us to raise them. We both have to be fully engaged in the process.
That's so good. So I know Madison didn't want to talk about marriage relationships anymore, but we talked about pre-assessing this, and kind of to wrap, we're getting near the end of our time. And so I just wanted to go back and revisit. You guys have been married 17 years. What marriage relationship advice do you guys have after being married 17 years? I mean, you talked about getting to know somebody early on and assessing the situation, but now after 17 years, let's conclude our session with what marriage advice do you have for the people after your experience so far?
I'm going to 2 things that I think are highly important. Then I'll let her do her thing. The first thing is, and it's statistically proven if you look it up, it's one of the top 3 or 5, I'll say top 3 reasons people get divorced. Communication. When you don't effectively communicate, so when you're talking at each other, not with each other, you're putting in your communication style. So when you're debating, having challenging conversations, how are you arguing? How are you debating? Right? There's this level of respect that was there before you got married, and it should be there even when you're debating and arguing with one another. So things like in our relationship, you can't be sarcastic in our conversations. I mean, when we're joking, that's one thing, but if we're arguing, we're having a debate about something we don't agree, you can't bring sarcasm into the room, because sarcasm is not going to do anything but tick one or the other person off. It's more of a slap in the face verbally. So why would you do that? Well, are you trying to stay together? Or are you trying to break this thing apart? So communication is so important. Communicating your desires, communicating your dreams, communicating what you like, what you don't like, what your disappointments are, what you're so happy about, communicating on what you'd like to see change. Just communicate. I mean, just saying those words can be so challenging for some people who weren't raised like me. Or I'll tell you, right, and tell you everything and anything. It's so challenging, but it's so powerful and so impactful to improve your marriage and sustain it and keep you together longer when you effectively communicate. And then the second thing I would say is, you got to fight fair. So you're going to argue, you're going to debate, you're going to disagree. You're 2 different people that have 2 different types of mindsets. I don't care if you're both from the same ethnic group or what have you. You grew up in 2 different households. You are not the same. And with the way your mom did stuff, her mom didn't do them the same way, and vice versa. And dad, all that. So many different dynamics. You have to fight fair. So in times of peace, make rules for war. How are we going to fight? What is acceptable in our if I say I need a few minutes, do I get a few minutes? But at the same time, it's like, well, you get a few minutes, but you don't get 3 days, right? You can't walk in we don't have arguments where she don't talk to me for 3 days. We don't do that. Because what is it really helping? Who's it helping?
Yeah.
Not helping anybody.
Yeah.
And a mature, whole person will not let that much time pass without coming back around and say, okay, let's talk about this, right? So here's another tip with fighting fair, making rules in time of war. Give the person the benefit of a doubt. At no point do I intentionally, sometimes I do have to, whoa, wait a minute, stop, Kylan. Don't say anything. She didn't intend to be rude to you. Give her the benefit of the doubt. Give the person the benefit of the doubt that they are not saying things to intentionally hurt you or to frustrate you or make you or try to make you feel a certain way. Because even if they are, if you receive that, you're giving them permission to make you feel any kind of way about anything. And they shouldn't have that kind of power, because most of our emotions are choices. It's our choice to respond a certain way to something we hear that we may like or dislike.
It's good stuff.
So after all this time, in addition to what you said,
Mhm.
I would say another thing that was on purpose is we intentionally, one, I don't know how people try to even do this without God. I can't even imagine I would do this
Right.
without God. I wouldn't want to. I don't want to know what life outside of him looks like. And so I have to bring that back to the only way I am a safe place, the only way my mind is in the right place is when I am in the right relationship with God. So that means, to me, I'm reading the Bible. I've got worship music going while I'm driving. And it's not just any music, it's songs that connect to you. Again, things that speak to you, that like I can feel the presence of God in my car driving my kids to school or doing things. It's me spending time with God, because that is the connection. That's the only person, the only being that can feel what's going on in me. So I can't even be a good mom disconnected, because then I'm talking from a broken place. I'm speaking from a broken place. I'm trying to love you from a broken place. But then the second thing I would say is you've got to stay friends. So there are so many times where we would just be like, especially during this pandemic, working from home, both of us are stuck at home. We're like, let's just go for a drive. Let's just go, we can't go anywhere. We don't want to go anywhere. Let's go drive. I mean, we don't live too far from the country right now. Let's drive and talk. What do we like? What do we dream? So it can't just all be about what happens in your bedroom as a married couple, because you're going to leave that room and you're going to have to go out into the real world. And part of that is the connection that extends beyond that we're going to be together after our children leave the home. They're going to go out, they're going to do their thing in the world. And it's going to be us. And I need to maintain that connection to him. And the one last thing I would say, but also is just as important, is me maintaining myself. I have no problem going out at any time and saying, you know what, I need an hour to myself. And that, when I was younger, sometimes it used to make me feel uncomfortable, like by myself. Like that one song from Mariah Carey starts coming in your house, all by myself. Sometimes you need to be all by yourself. You need to know how to be alone and be okay. Not just like, oh, I'll survive until the next hour, but like I enjoy my hour. I go get pedicures by myself. I have a wonderful conversation with the person doing the pedicure or the manicure. I enjoy, and Kylan taught me this, I enjoy going out and having lunch by myself. Like I am still my own individual, complete whole person, and I need to remain my own individual, complete person so that
That's
I
good.
can be a better spouse.
Yeah, she's still a mother. She's still a wife. Professional businesswoman, that type of thing. But I taught her that because my mother taught me that. So as at 18, 19, my friends were like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm just gonna chill tonight. And for me, that meant I'm going to a restaurant. I'm gonna eat by myself. I'm going to see a movie I want to see. I want to sit and talk to nobody. I just want to enjoy me time. So my mother taught me how to enjoy be okay with who I am by myself in the house. What do I enjoy? And enjoying that moment. Because like you said, that's part of being whole. That's part of being a complete person, is being okay with yourself and being able to enjoy life with yourself. Because then you can really turn and really enjoy life when you have someone that's doing the same thing. You're like, what do you want to do? I don't know. And you start talking about what you want to do. So then you're trying to experience one of those experiences and do what the other person wants to do because you want to experience what they're experiencing and vice versa. I mean, that.
Yes. I think sometimes that's what the dissatisfaction in marriage comes from, is because Kylan does not want to get a pedicure with me.
What?
He doesn't want, I don't want to go see action films with him.
Once a year, I go to get a pedicure with her. Once a year.
Once a year, not every month. So that's where we get frustrated, because it's like we're looking for them to be something that they're not. And I need that me time, and he needs his me time. So when we come together, we're like, I want to be with you because I have been by myself for a little bit and I enjoyed it. But now I'm ready to be together, because again, you're still an individual. You didn't give up yourself. Like, you were not just created just to blend into the wall. And now I'm not Rebecca anymore. I am an extension of Kylan. I am not an extension of Kylan. We are Kylan and Rebecca Crawford. We complement each other. But in the end, one day I'm going to stand before God for myself. He's going to stand before God for himself. We are still individuals. And I think that is so important, that you can't lose that. You got to keep that. You got to keep growing. You got to keep learning, keep discovering yourself, keep getting better at you.
Love it. That is so good. Such good advice.
Yeah.
I so enjoy talking to you guys, and I just listen. I just love it. Just listen to you guys. I can listen to you guys all night.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you guys again for just taking time to share all this stuff. I mean, it's just another great session with tons of wisdom, information, and just selfless sharing of wisdom. And I know people will get it. If you guys want, again, to hear more from Kylan and Rebecca, get their book.
Because they have so much more wisdom.
Oh, yeah.
This is just a snippet.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, already 2 episodes down, and you guys we're just soaking in so much more wisdom from you guys. And so I know anybody who's a young adult out there, like, listening, they're also like specifically preparing you. Like, we're the group that you guys, I mean, are passionate about as well.
Right.
And so soak it all in. If you're 20 something, like, looking to get married, like, trying to figure out who you are, just soak in their wisdom. That would be my encouragement to you. But yeah.
So, well, again, thanks to all the viewers who stayed with us here till the end and listened to all this, and keep subscribing. And again, thank you, Kylan and Rebecca, for coming on again and sharing all this stuff with us. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. We had fun.
Thanks so much for joining us today on the Legacy Builders podcast. We would love to hear from all of you. Go tag us on Facebook and Instagram and let us know what the biggest takeaway from today's episode was.